wants to be king!
Welcome back to the War Room. Today I want to dive into something that has taken over the manosphere space in the past couple of days, and it's something that I think that it's pretty important to talk about because, as I've spoken about many times in the past, my whole intention here on this channel is to help men, and part of that assistance is to help men escape the clutches and the influence of those who really don't have their best interest in mind. The recent happenings with Jesse Lee Peterson and the revelations that have come out they're disturbing at best. You know, for so many reasons it is problematic. On its face, it's problematic because these people, these men, these young men, and sometimes not so young men who were influenced by Jesse were taken advantage of. And unlike those who prey upon men's weakness and their sadness, like Rich Cooper, Rollo Tomasi, and all of those charlatans who preach the incel lifestyle and basically low-key don't like women because they're losers. This is different because you have a sexual predator, a booty bandit that's taking advantage of men, and that's a problem, especially if and when it's done in the name of Christ. You know, that is probably one of the most troubling parts about this, is that Jesse has allegedly used his ministry and preaching about Jesus, you know, as his hunting grounds. And like so many charlatans that have taken the pulpit, religion is used for the most nefarious of ends, and it is it's beyond messed up that these people do this. Not just what they do to the people physically, but what they do to Christ's word, to what they do to the influence of Christ in the people's lives, and the influence or the deterrence that other people see. You know, I saw on a thread recently that, you know, it was a thread where lost boys and men go to try to find answers to why they are such failures and why women seem to be so mean to them, for lack of better words. And it's really sad because the one place where a man used to be able to go to find a woman that at least had some sort of moral compass was the church. And now, with all of the things that are coming out, in reality, the modern day church is really just a den of vipers. It's a place where evil, sick people dwell, and where so many people go to try to find answers but end up finding themselves even more lost than when they initially came to. We've got a nation that's fallen apart, and the one place where society should be able to turn, the one place that should be providing stability and guidance, seems to be the place where so much of the evil goes unspoken. And I find it rather curious in this situation with Jesse that an atheist, a person who claims to be an atheist, a person that's not even a Christian, Anthony Johnson, seems to be more furious than those who preach God's word from the pulpit. But then once again, that's not surprising to me, because when you look at the acceptance of all the abominations, the alphabet communities, the marriage that can't yield any productive fruits, when you look at all the things that have not just been accepted in our culture, but that have been accepted in the church, it's really easy to see that the church, modern day church, the Western Christianity in particular, is just, it's a reformation of the pagan worship that was so prevalent during Jesus' time. And that's precisely why everything has been bent and curved to what it is. You know, I've had several people in the past, when I've talked about Christianity, Christ, and, you know, said anything along those lines, many people like to throw stones and say, but you cuss so much, and the way you look at things and all this, and they look at these trivial things. But who I am as a man, I try my best to model myself after Christ. And it's an impossible task. I'm just a human, and I make a lot of mistakes. I do a lot of messed up stuff all the time, and it's a constant struggle. But it's not, I don't lean towards my belief because of what I learned in Western Christianity. Fortunately, I was taught by my grandmother the pagan rituals that inundate Christianity. And that's why we've got the acceptance of everything that's unacceptable. What the modern day church has done is taken God and created him in man's image, which is faulty and sick. The culture that we live in today, we're perpetuated everything that is guaranteed to destroy a society, to destroy a people, and realistically destroy humanity. These things have been propagated. They're being celebrated. The marriage between two people who cannot have children, the demonization of having children. You've got people, this system has been so perfectly designed that the pullers of the strings have convinced women that the most valuable thing that they can do as humans, the most precious gift that they could possibly have in their life, is now an inconvenience, because whatever. And watching the masses take to the streets and set things on fire and fight for their alleged quote-unquote right to avoid responsibility for the choices that they made is sick, and it's sad. We are allowing the demons who control the system to get us to cheer our own destruction, to get us to beg for our own demise. And it's poetic. You know, in the past I've spoken about men needing to stand up and fight against this system and try to do something to change things, but I've come to the realization that this is exactly the way it's supposed to be. It's written in the Bible, and whether the Bible is literal or just a figurative text that says what happens when man gets too full of himself, regardless of what you want to argue, we have reached the end of our morality, we have reached the end of our humanity, and we have reached the end of pretty much the life that we've known in this country, the West, not just America, the West. The pullers of the string, the ruler of this system of things, is expediting his plan, and it is exactly the way that it's supposed to be. The things that are happening in America, the destruction of our culture, the destruction of men being apathetic, weak, and just pathetic shells of what they're supposed to be, is exactly what's supposed to happen when empires crumble. And unfortunately, the people that are supposed to be the leaders in this country, in this culture, the Christian pastors, the Christian leaders, instead have gone the way of the world, and that collection plate being full is more important than the people's hearts being full and being convicted of their daily sins. I was once asked why I don't go to church. And the main reason is because the church in America, the Western church, is not where God lives. That's not where God congregates anymore. The Christian church in the West has merely adopted all the pagan rituals, deities, and habits that the Roman Catholic Church had. And they've just doctored it up and made it about Jesus. And that's not what Christ came to tell us. That is not what Christ came to do. The modern day church has idols and worships things like eggs and crosses and things like that, things that are very clearly written against in God's word. And make no mistake, I don't fall under the delusion that the text in its presented form is the full story at all. But I do move in my life by the Spirit's communication to my soul. And I know that modern day Christianity, the church that we have in America, is part and parcel to why we are where we are today. So what Jesse has done isn't really surprising, but it's disturbing and it's disgusting. For those people who have been affected by this, I want you to know I understand the betrayal that you may feel in your heart, but it's important for you to know this. You cannot blame Christ for what people do in his name. What Jesse did under the guise of Christianity, under the guise of being a minister, was wrong. And that is not what God's word's about. That is not what a man of God does. Right now, what we need more than anything else is a return to the morality that is preached throughout the Bible. But instead, where we are is we've got a bunch of useful idiots, victims, dummies, that are blindly marching themselves and the rest of us off the cliff. And I believe that this is probably an inevitable end. And with that being said, I think it's very important for everyone to make sure that if nothing else, you make sure that you've got your soul in order. Out.